Hello, and welcome back to Ink and Insights. I hope you had an amazing week. Before we start this episode, I just want to talk about the fact that I do not yet, even though I wanted to do it every Sunday, I don't have yet a set date on when the episode will air. I apologize, but lately, I have a lot of things going on, so cannot realistically set a day during the week where I will record and do all the cutting, editing, and posting. However, this ends on the end of the month. Like by February 28th, we'll have a set day every week to air the episode because my schedule will be less crazy. So I will be able to set a day every week where I do all the podcast work. So now that that is out of the way, let's get into the episode. Initially, I wanted to make this podcast on how we tie our self worth to what we produce and achieve, on procrastination, imposter syndrome, etc. But I think that's gonna be an episode for another week because yesterday I had a conversation. I had actually two conversations with two different friends about healing. Those conversations were mostly about healing from heartbreak, so it inspired me for today's episode, and I do like to record on what inspires me because then the episodes are more genuine and they feel more like an honest conversation, which is the point of this whole thing. First friend came to me and she was telling me that she was thinking about reaching out to her ex. The other friend was being hard on herself because she felt like on the process to getting over her ex relationship, she would make 10 steps forwards and 20 steps backwards. It made me think, and that's something I told her. It made me think on the whole, like on the way we are so unkind to ourselves that we don't give ourselves the space and the love we need to hurt and heal in the proper way. If someone is grieving, like if someone loses someone, if someone loses their job, those are hurts that we respect. I don't know how to say that. Those are hurts that we feel are legitimate. Like you can be depressed because you lost someone, of course. You can take the time to grieve. If it takes you 2, 3, 4 years to grieve, so be it. If it takes your entire life, so be it. If someone loses their job, yes, you get to be depressed, you get to feel bad, but it feels like when it comes to heartbreak, we treat it as a trivial matter. You will hear people tell other people, and I've been people, I'm not even gonna lie, which is hypocritical when I see my behavior in my life, and we'll come to that. But I've been people. I'm not judging anyone because I've been one of those people telling someone, girl, it's been a year already. Like, why are you still crying over it? And it makes no sense because one of the thing heartbreak is, it's grief. It is grief. It's grief over the love that you had. It's grief over the person that you were with, that person that you lost. Because we date because we love the person, right? We are in a relationship because we love the person in front of us, but we also love the person we are when we are with that person. So it's grief over that person because you'll never be that person again. It's grief over the person you thought you knew, you thought will spend you would spend your life with. It's grief over your hopes and dreams of what this relationship would be. So it is grief. And people grieve differently. We have to give ourselves the time to grieve. And grieving is not a straight line. There are days where you don't think about that person. There are days where you don't even feel for that person. It feels like you don't feel anything. You don't care. Then there are days where you hate that person. Truly. Sometimes when you think you're over it, when you think you're not thinking about that person anymore, when you think you're back, you're on the roll, that you miss that person. And that's normal because it wasn't all bad. You had happy moments. You won't focus on the bad, especially when the relationship didn't end because of a huge betrayal. Because at least when there's a huge betrayal, it's easy to latch onto it, to be like, yeah, he was cute and all, but he cheated on me. Or, yeah, she was super nice and we spent the best moment together, but she emptied my bank account. Okay, that was so stereotypical. Like the gold digging bitch and the cheating man. I'm sorry. That's my internalized misogyny talking, and I'm so sorry that those are the example that I took. I I'm not gonna cut it while editing because we're not perfect. And as feminist, and as much as I like to think that I am getting rid of all the social norms, well, I still am a product of my society, so I have those internalized biases. But back to the topic. So, it's easier when there is a huge betrayal to hold on to the hurt so you won't go back and think about that person in a loving way. But when you break up for a disagreement, or like just the fact that you were not as compatible as you thought you would be, or the vision, like what you want your future to be, may not align, it's really, really hard to stick to the fact that you are not made to be together, like you are not compatible. Because sometimes you will sit and be like, yeah, they did this or they did behave like that. But is it really something I cannot get over? Like, if I put in a balance the good of the relationship and the bad, does it really overweight the good? You know, and sometimes the bad is only 10% of the relationship or 20% of the relationship. And you will think, yeah, but 80% of good versus 20% of bad. But that 20% is 20% too much because it's only 20% of the time. But when it comes to feeling, it takes 80% of your headspace. So, because it's so hard to forget the happiness you had with someone, you will relapse. You will have the moments where you will miss this person and your dignity will hold by a thread so you won't text them. But we have to be kind with ourselves. We have to stop letting our ego get in the way of our healing. We have to stop telling each other, telling ourselves, I'm sorry, we have to stop telling ourselves, oh, I cannot let, like, the fact is, you should not let someone have so much power over you that they control how you feel. But telling ourselves that this person wasn't isn't worth us hurting, that, oh my god, I'm too much of a bad bitch for a man to hurt me, that used to be my attitude. That's, first of all, that is not true. We are straight in denial territory. That is not true. Yes, you are a bad bitch, but he did hurt you. He hurt you bad because he wasn't a man, he was your man. So when we are hurting because of someone, we need to put our ego aside, at least with ourselves. Like, at least with ourselves, we need to put our ego aside and admit and accept that this person did that to you. This person, you gave that person the power to do that to you. And that's okay because we are human beings and we have love to give. And we should not stop giving people love and opening our hearts and our lives to people. But we need to accept the fact that we gave someone the power to hurt us and they took it, they used it, they abused it. That is not our fault, but to heal, we have to admit. And it's hard. I used to be that person that would be like, huh, hell no. Like, I'm good. I was fronting all the time, never giving myself the space to heal. From age 14 to age 24, I was always in a relationship. Always. And when I tell you always, it's like the most I've been single was a year. It sounds long, but you have to know that during this year, I was talking to my ex. I was having situationships. Like, I was never by myself. I was never single in a way that I don't have feelings for anyone. I'm not entertaining anyone. Like, I was always there was always someone. I never took the time to heal. My motto was the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. Let's go, keep it rolling. So, I never took the time to heal. I just went from one relationship to another with my big emotional baggage, carrying it like this, and it was fine from 13 to 15, because from 13 to 15, those were cute relationships. Like, those were, you know. But starting from 15, I had my first, like real first love, teenage love with everything that goes with it. So, in my last long relationship, I was, I came with all the baggage, with all the baggage. That was my first healthy relationship. That was the first time where I was with someone who would communicate with me, who would make space to talk things out, who would be my cheerleader, who would support me in ways that I had a hard time accepting. But because I came with all my baggage, because I was the bad bitch who wouldn't be hurt by men and, just keep it rolling. So I would just like, put all the trauma in the back of my head. I could not appreciate that. If I'm being honest, it's not me taking the blame for all of the things that went wrong in the relationship. It's just me realizing that there were two of us in that relationship, and I cannot just put the fact that it didn't work solely on that person. During the relationship, I had a hard time being an us. I was always on defense mode because in my past relationship, I was overly criticized. I was never right. I was not supported. I was always made to feel like I was less than the other people in his life and less than the other women in his life. And I was already an insecure person at that time, so it just fueled my insecurities. And I brought that baggage in my new relationship, and I couldn't listen. And I still have that. I'm working on it and it's better, but I have a hard time taking criticism, especially from the person that I love, because it makes me feel as if I'm not enough. It makes me feel as if I'm not lovable, as if because they saw a flaw, they're not gonna love me anymore. And I'm talking about a guy who would sit for hours, I kid you not, for hours to communicate with me, to make me understand his point of view so we could compromise. And if I'm being honest, that was the healthiest relationship I've been in, no thanks to me. Like, yes, I worked on myself. Yes, yes, I worked on myself. Yes, during the relationship, when he would come to me with concerns, with his feelings, I would make an effort to make it better. But I can say with confidence that 60% of the reason why we were healthy was him. And when I tell you that, looking back at it, I can see all the ways I was still hurting from my past relationship and bringing it into my new. I couldn't listen. I was always like, it's like it felt raw. It felt as if I was oversensitive, as if everything was like, grating against my skin. So I was already always reacting, never listening, always reacting. My body language would always be during a discussion, arm crossed, already shaking my head, like never listening, right? And after we broke up, like it's the first time I really sat down to reflect, to ask myself, yes, I am a lover girl. I love love. I am a hopeless romantic, and reading didn't help. I want my forever person. I will never stop looking for my forever person. But am I the person that my forever person wants? Am I doing the work to be the forever person to my forever person? And I wasn't, because I wasn't taking the time to heal. I wasn't being nice enough to myself, loving enough with myself to heal. And healing means that you have to self reflect, because you have to be able to see when someone is hurting you or when you're being triggered. You have to be able to see, okay, this was hurtful to me, but also this is a behavior that I had that wasn't okay. Because when you are in a situation where it's not healthy, you also adopt unhealthy behaviors, and then you bring them into your other relationships. So yeah, healing takes a lot of time, because you will go back and forth. While you're becoming the new you, the old you is still here. And sometimes that old you will want to bring you back to old habits, unhealthy habits. And it's so hard. It's easier to fall back into unhealthy habits than to create new healthy ones. So when you fall back, when you trip and you fall and you send that drunk text and you have the hookup, or or you cry 5 months later while looking at your pictures, do not be ashamed. Do not feel ashamed. Do not feel bad. Do not be hard on yourself. That is normal. This person mattered to you. It's so random sometimes. Like, it's so random. You will just say something and then the memory will pop in your head and you're like, kind of miss them. Kind of miss them. But you get over it. One thing that I adopted when I decided that I would take the time to heal, because I wanted to be the forever person to my forever person. I want to be a better person for this person who doesn't even exist yet. Well, maybe I mean, obviously they exist, but I haven't met them. I don't know if I'll ever meet them. But one thing that I know is that me bettering myself will only bring good to me. Me deciding that I want to be a better person for my forever person is as good as a motivation as any. And I know that it also makes me a better person for my friends, which actually are my first forever people. But like, it makes me a better person for them, because this can apply to friendships too. So it makes me a better person for my friends. It makes me a better person for my family. And it makes me a better person for myself. The one thing that I really adopted was radical honesty, because I was fighting my ego, right? I was fighting the embarrassment. I was fighting the shame of letting a man, quote unquote, make me feel some type of way. So I embraced radical honesty. That was, it was shocking at the beginning for a lot of my friends, because when I broke up, like when the relationship ended with my ex, people will ask me, "How are you feeling?" And I would say, "Bad. I'm feeling bad. I miss him. I want to go beg. I want to go and beg that man to take me back." And it's like, normally people don't voice that. People just be like, I'm not okay, but it'll be fine." And I was like, "I'm not." And it feels like it will never be fine again. Months later, I've been asked, "Oh, do you feel like you could go back with him?" And I was like, one text, one text. He says hi, and I'm back. He says hi, and I'm back. And my friends was so shocked. He was like, "Are you just gonna admit it like that?" And I was like, "Well, that's the truth. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, oh, I don't know. I know. I know. One text, and I'm back." Month after that, I was we were gonna meet again, and people asked me, "Oh, will something happen?" I was like, "Yes, I'm not gonna lie to you. Yes, something will happen. Something will happen. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna resist it. I'm not gonna fight it. I would like to tell you, I would like to tell myself, oh no, I'm gonna see him and I'm gonna, but I'm not. And I have to be honest about my feelings, about how I have to. So, and being honest like that took away the feeling of shame. It, like, I don't feel that anymore. And I don't have to be in denial anymore because I'm just honest with myself and my feelings. And because I was honest about how I felt, especially to myself, but also to my friends, it made it easier to get over that person, to heal from the aftermath of our relationship, and to unlearn the bad behaviors and learn new good behaviors, and to communicate also because that exercise of just being honest with myself on my feelings about a breakup taught me how to be more emotionally intelligent, meaning that I can now see with honesty when I'm feeling this and that. Why am I feeling that? Am I being petty? Am I being triggered? Am I mad? Am I sad? Am I disappointed? What am I feeling? I can pinpoint it and I can communicate way better with the people around me. And I am not ashamed of being hurt. And I'm never ever gonna be ashamed of being hurt again because I will never apologize for loving the people the way I do. The love I have to give is one of my best features. Like, it's one of the things that I love about myself. The way I love the people around me, that's something that I never want to change. It's unrealistic to seclude love as if it doesn't shape the way we are and the way we behave in our everyday life. Romantic love actually takes a lot of space. It's so much easier to brush it under the carpet and tell yourself that this one person doesn't have the power to affect you like that, but they do. And once again, that's okay. On that note, I hope that your path and your journey towards healing brings you more awareness about who you are, what you want, and how you feel. And I hope that you learn how to be nicer to yourself. And I hope that you learn how to be nicer to yourself. And if that's hard, you have to find someone who is going to be nicer to yourself than you are, which means that you have to find a safe space, someone that you can go to and be like, oh, I want to text them, or I drunk dial them, or I slept with them. And that person will be like, okay, no judgment. How are you feeling? How is it? Is this affecting your healing? What do you want us to do? Do you want us to block them? Do you want us to, like, what do you need from us? You need to find a safe space with someone who is going to be nicer to yourself through your healing journey than you are, because that's going to force you to be nicer to yourself. As always, I hope this made you feel heard and understood, because you are not alone and you are never alone. Now, let's get to the ink part. Of course, I'm talking about heartbreak. I'm a romantic gal. We are gonna get love books, but we're talking about healing. So, this book made me cry. It made me question myself. It made me like, and I don't like poetry. It's my first poems that I read, and I would recommend it to anyone ever listening. It's called Bits of My Love by Aminatou Bukhari. You will see the book right there for those who are on YouTube, and as always, the links are in the bio. It's initially written by a black woman for Black women, I think, but I think it can apply to anyone. It's a journey towards self love, towards healing, towards just love in general, in all the types of forms it can take. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like I said, I do not read poetry. This is the first time. And I don't think that poetry is my genre at all, but I loved it. I really did. Second book is actually a book that I recommend all the time. I don't know. It just made me feel so happy and so giddy, and it was so much love. So it's called Love in Color by Bolu Babaloba, and it's short stories. She takes myth and legends from all around the world and she kind of rewrites their love stories. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And for the last one, it's actually kind of a unfinished business on my part. It's all about love, bell hooks. I read about 75% of the book. But it's really hard for me to read in one go because it makes me reflect a lot. And so I kind of read it and then go back to it and then stop and go back to it. She has some points that I do not agree with, but she has also some solid points. And I will recommend it, even though I don't agree with everything she says, because first of all, you might agree, but also because it really, really is important to challenge our own beliefs and our own, opinions sometimes, but without having the stakes of being right. So, yeah, that's it for today, and see you next week with a new episode. Bye bye.